Hey guys, welcome back to Check Your Leader TV. Today's video is just a quick update on what we're going to be doing post the Battle of Hal and the Battle of Nivelles that's been going on both on my channel and Steve's channel over at Basement 1908. So essentially we've fought two battles now. Well, Steve's fought about five, I think, maybe six. But since we've collaborated and Steve invited me to pitch in, we've fought the two battles, the twin battles of Hal and Nivelles. Hal you can see on Basement 1908, and Nivelles obviously on this channel here. So essentially the operational situation is Napoleon has defeated the Duke of Wellington in the north, just south of Brussels at the Battle of Hal, and the British Army, or the we'll call it Wellington's army. Wellington's army is retreating north, and what he has done, he has detached one of his divisions to hold on a river line. It could be a canal or a river, and to delay Napoleon's forces so that he can withdraw back towards Brussels and establish a firmer defensive position behind a canal. Build some fortifications, maybe a redoubt or two, and make a stand there before Brussels. Napoleon, for his part, has pushed one of his divisions forward to try to push the rear guard aside, and so the rest of his army can come up and attack Wellington before he can establish a defensive position just outside Brussels. For Marshals Davout and Blucher. Blucher, after hearing the guns fall silent in Hal and then have a courier inform him of Wellington's defeat, realised that trying to fight his way through to Wellington via Nivelles and then heading north to try and take Napoleon from behind just wasn't going to happen, and has decided to withdraw. He's pulled back towards Quatre Bras with a view of then turning, heading back towards Quatre Bras and then turning north and going to Brussels to reinforce Wellington. Davout, for his part, is determined to stop that. I'll just point out, it takes approximately a full day to move 6 squares on the map via road, and you have to get moved via road. There's no cross-country movement. So here's the map of our area of operations and the two battles that have recently been fought. The main armies of Wellington and Napoleon fought their battle here in the vicinity of Hal. This obviously has been a victory for the French, and the British are now retreating up this road towards Brussels. Wellington's forces are moving back towards Brussels to set up a defensive line behind this river or canal, with Brussels to their rear. It's a fairly good defensive position. What they've done, however, is they have dropped off a single division to defend this river crossing here, or canal crossing, and that's where the army of Wellington sits currently. Napoleon, for his part, is reorganising his army in the vicinity of Hal, but has sent a single division off in pursuit to harass and harangue Wellington's army, and we're going to have a situation where a vanguard will crash into a rear guard in the vicinity of this canal crossing here. So a battlefield across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these 6 squares here in all probability. Maybe even 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But regardless, that's the situation for Wellington and Napoleon. For the armies that I'm concerned with, Davout and Blucher. Okay, so let's zoom in on them. So we have the army of Davout and the army of Blucher. Blucher, they fought a bloody draw here, and Blucher has decided to retreat easterly towards Quatre Bras. Davout has a couple of options. He can either pursue Blucher with his entire force. The risk there is that he will be playing catch-up, trying to catch up with Blucher, and it doesn't stop Blucher at the end of the day marrying up with Wellington. And it's imperative that Davout does not let that happen. So the obvious solution is, rather than pursuing eastward, is head forward to the vicinity of Mont Saint-Jean, a good defensive position, and wait there as the armies separate, and he meets him there. The problem with that is if he moves with all his forces in this direction, it leaves this route open. So he's going to have to drop off at least a brigade, if not an entire division, to cover Napoleon's right flank here at, obviously, Nivelles. This would leave him fighting down a division, but in a good defensive position, and even if he is defeated or pushed aside, he has at least prevented Blucher and the Prince of Orange moving northward to Wellington's position. It could even be that Blucher, for his part, only sends a division forward as a feint, but moves with the weight of his forces back against Nivelles and attempts it a second time. So it's going to be interesting to see what the opposing armies do. And if you would like to make a suggestion in regards to Blucher's movements or Davout's movements, I'd happily take them on board. You can leave them in the comment section below. You can go to the General d'Armée Facebook page, and I'll put a poll there, and you can tick which option you think is the better. So that's the tactical situation. I should just add, there is a rumor that Napoleon might detach from this army and send and might go with his Imperial Guard to marry up with Davout. Regardless, I can't see Davout just sitting here waiting for Napoleon to catch up with him. So he's going to move on to here in all possibility, rather than wait for the Imperial Guard to arrive. And must be remembered, there are a couple of battalions of Imperial Guard that are part of a Grand Army Reserve that are also following along behind both these sides. So there are other additional troops in the area that can join either Napoleon or Davout, and there are other troops that are mustering that could join Blucher and Wellington. There are still Dutch, Belgian, Hanoverians, and Brunswickers that are still trying to concentrate in areas around Wavre and Brussels. And so don't be surprised if a brigade or two turns up out of the blue. So that's where we're at. There's quite a bit of fog of war to sort out. Things are not all clear to everyone, but that's the nature of war. So what I'm going to go on with now is I'll just show you the formula that I use to work out what unit strengths are after a battle. There are a couple of assumptions that are made. For infantry, I just work on a simple round figure that if it's a standard size unit, it has 600 men. If it's a cavalry unit, it's standard size 480, and artillery batteries 200. That's a lot more men in a battery than you would normally get. Normally it's about 150, 180, but we're going with 200. They're called artillery batteries, but the reality is they're artillery companies and they form batteries. But let's not get too bogged down. So I'll just use an infantry battalion as an example. So for example, if we work on a number of 600 for an average size standard unit, every one hit, because they can take 12, is equivalent to 50 men. So when a unit suffers a hit, it's lost 50 men. At the end of every battle, you always get back 50% of your losses regardless. You get 50% back. So if a unit has 600 men, takes one hit, at the end of the battle, it's got 550 left. Of the 50 that have been considered hits or casualties, 25 return to the colours. So that will give it a strength of 575. If the battle was a victory or a drawn battle, and otherwise a contested battlefield, you get an additional 10% of the casualties suffered. So therefore, in the case of 50 men, you would get another 5. So if you were a victor, you would get 25 men back plus 5 for being a victor. So that would take you up to 580. If you lose the battle, then you just don't get that extra 10% back. If you lose and are actively pursued from the battlefield, and that happens if A, you don't have any cavalry, at least 2 units of cavalry, or a brigade off table, an entire brigade of either infantry or cavalry or artillery, to cover your withdrawal, then you suffer an additional 2 casualties. So if you had suffered 1, you now are classed as suffering 3, and you will lose 150 men. And that's essentially how it works out. That 150 men, of course, you get half of it back. So you would lose 75. And that's basically the formula. I'll put the formula in the description of this video below. So in the description, it's all going to be written out how I work it out. And you can see for yourself how we do it for infantry. For cavalry, it's a little bit different. So it's 480 men in a standard cavalry unit. So each hit is equivalent to 40 men and horses. For batteries, each hit is equivalent to 20 men. The only other thing you need to know about batteries is if an artillery unit is wiped out, dispersed in a game, and then they are driven from the battlefield, then they lose all their guns. That's just an unfortunate nature of the logistics pertaining to artillery. You'll notice here that there's black numbers, so that means they're still a standard size unit, but once we get into red numbers, they now become small. Once you've got red and it's got a pink background behind it, it's dispersed, it's completely lost. There's not enough men to form a unit. I've also got for large units, because there is one large cavalry unit currently in this battle, and also during the campaign, you might take units and combine them. You might have 2 badly knocked around units, and once you combine them, it might work out that you've got over 800 men, in which case it would make it a large unit. 600 for infantry. There are no large artillery batteries in the campaign, unless, of course, the Russians start to really pitch in and start delivering large artillery batteries. So now let's have a look at the strengths of both armies post-Battle of Nivelles. If we have a look at the 12th Infantry Division, part of Davout's Army of the Interior, their 1st Brigade, which consists of predominantly the 51st Line. You can see here the 1st Battalion is down to 440 men, the 2nd 560, the 3rd is at 580, and their battery still has 7 guns. Now, for the first engagement, even if a battery is dispersed, I bring them back up to standard strength after one battle. After the 2nd battle, that's when things start to go pear-shaped. The reason for that is armies would always maintain an artillery park, and what that enables the batteries to do is to be re-equipped after the first engagement. From the first engagement onwards, however, after that's been fought, then the casualty rules apply for artillery. Right, moving along, 2nd Brigade, which are the Swiss battalions, the 4th Regiment, the 1st and 2nd Battalions, 460, 440, and the 1st Battalion of the 2nd Swiss, 500. The 3rd Brigade, which consists of the light infantry, they were on the right flank at the Battle of Nivelles. They suffered some pretty serious casualties, 360, 480, 540. and they've still got 7 guns. And the 7th Hussars, this part of the Cavalry Brigade attached to the 12th Infantry Division, 336 men and 464. Then we go to the 13th Division, the Recruit Brigade, 600 men, 500 men, 560. And then we see their 2nd Brigade, the 1st Battalion of the 28th Line, 600 men, the 55th Line, 1st Battalion, 580, and the 2nd Line Regiment, 3rd Battalion, 600. So that brigade's in pretty good strength. The 3rd Brigade under Colonel Trape, the 2nd Line, 1st Battalion, 600 men. 9th Light, 1st Battalion, 500. 9th Light, 2nd Battalion, 480. There is a 12th Artillery 1st Company that was not used in this battle. It was held to the rear, and it's going to be broken up and handed off to the 1st Brigade, 2nd, 13th Division as regimental artillery going forward. The Cavalry Brigade of Dragoons, the 2nd Dragoons, 400 men, the 7th Dragoons, 288. And they have their 7 guards. The Young Guard, pretty much untouched until you get to the light, the Cavalry Brigade where the Eclairs were fighting. They both took 6 casualties. They are now at 384 men in each of those regiments. But it's still a standard size unit. If we now have a look at the Dutch, Belgians, and the Prussians, we'll look at the 1st Division first. So the 1st Infantry Division, 1st Brigade consists of the Infantry Regiment number 2, 1st, 2nd Battalion, Fusilier Battalion, and the West Prussian Reserves. They are at 360, 480, 480, and 480. The 2nd Brigade under Major Schmidt, which is the 9th Infantry Regiment. The 1st Battalion, 460, 2nd Battalion, 560. The Fusilier Battalion is at 600, and the Kurmark Landwehr 600. Their Cavalry Brigade, 400 for the 3rd Hussars and 336 for the Landwehr, and their artillery is at full strength. Their Guard, the 2nd Infantry Division, 1st Brigade under Oberst Littau, Infantry Regiment number 10, 1st Battalion 480, 2nd Battalion 540, the Fusilier Battalion 600, and the Silesian Landwehr 600. The 2nd Brigade under Major von Rodel, 1st Battalion of Infantry Regiment number 6, 600 men, Westphalian Landwehr 580, Infantry Regiment number 6, 2nd Battalion Reservists 440, and Infantry Regiment number 6, Fusilier Battalion 600. The 2nd Cavalry Brigade, the 2nd Dragoons, 268. The Brunswick Hussars, they copped a real kicking. But at the end of the battle, they were surrounded and carrying 11 casualties, so they're down to 288 men. That might make them a small regiment now, but their artillery is at full strength. Prince William of Orange, all these infantry battalions are in pretty good shape. If you look at the Belgian Brigade, the Dutch Belgian Brigade, I should say, they suffered no casualties. The Nassau Brigade, the 1st Battalion of Nassau Ossingen, I don't even know how to pronounce that, but this battalion here, they got a bit of round shot and canister into them, so they're down to 520, but the other 2 battalions are at full strength. Their artillery is in good shape. Their cavalry, the Carabineers, it's a large regiment, so even though they took 2 casualties, they're still at 568 men, so still large, and the 6th Hussars are at 400. And finally, if we have a look at the Guards, the Prussian Guard, the 1st Battalion is at 460, the 2nd Battalion is at 600, the Schutzen Light Infantry Battalion, the Guard Jaeger, 480, and Infantry Regiment number 7, 600. The Cavalry Regiments, The 1st Silesians at 384, and the 4th Brandenburgs at 304. So still standard size regiments. So that's the casualties for all troops concerned, and that basically concludes our post-battle wrap-up for the Battle of Nivelles. Okay, guys, so that concludes the wrap-up of the post-battle assessment for the Battle of Nivelles, and I guess to a lesser extent, the Battle of Hal. I should add also that one of the things I'll be doing going forward is, in a situation where you have infantry fighting infantry in hand-to-hand combat, if one side defeats the other, which inevitably that'll happen, then there's a 10% chance they capture a color. And that's something you're going to grab a D10, roll it, and if I roll a 0, they've captured, the victors have captured a color. And what that will see is the troops that were victorious, they will go up a grade because they've captured a color, and the troops that lost their color will drop a grade. Therefore, if it was a line infantry fighting a line infantry unit, then the victors will go up to grenadier, and the losers will drop down to reservist. Infantry can capture colors from infantry. Cavalry can capture colors from cavalry. Cavalry can capture colors from infantry, but infantry cannot capture colors from cavalry. And guns, artillery, they don't have colors because the guns are essentially the colors. In a situation where a cavalry unit or an infantry unit attacks an artillery battery and causes it to disperse, and if at the end of the game their army is victorious, in other words, they possess the battlefield and are able to pursue the enemy off the battlefield, then that battery is also, those guns can't be recovered, so that battery is essentially wiped out. And the unit that destroyed an infantry battalion, sorry, artillery battery, I'm going to give them a 50-50 chance that they'll go up a grade. So it's just rolling a dice, 1, 2, 3, they go up a grade, 4, 5, 6, they don't. These are just some of the things I'm doing to add a little bit of flavor, a bit of chrome to each engagement. So that's it for this video. Like I said, you got any suggestions or any tactical advice that you want to give as we go forward, put it in the comment section below, or go to the General d'Armée Facebook page. I'm assuming, of course, that you might be on Facebook, and I wouldn't blame you if you're not. So if you can't go onto Facebook, then by all means, just put it in the comment section here and let us know what you think Blucher or Davout should do going forward. And other than that, we'll wrap it up there, and I will catch you on the next one. The next battle in this campaign will probably be, it could be 3 or 4 weeks away. There are other things that I'm looking at, and I've got other projects that I need to look after. And then obviously there's real life stuff that gets in the way as well. So it might be 3 or 4 weeks before we see the next General d'Armée battle, but rest assured, this campaign will continue. And I think Steve over at Basement 1908, I think he'll be playing his divisional game, that battle to the south of, southwest of Brussels, between Hal and Brussels. That divisional battle, that might happen sooner rather than later. So we'll wrap it up there, and I'll catch you on the next one. Like, share, and subscribe, and Ubiquay.